everything that she's ever known changing astronomically. She has a real life job. She is a normal person. And then
Hello, I am Lila Mary, and this week I have author Lexi MacQueen here to talk about her new fantasy novel, The Goddess Calls. So, hi Lexi, welcome.
hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. It's such a pleasure. Could you start us off by giving us a summary of The Goddess Calls in your own words?
So The Goddess Calls is a dark urban romantasy. It's set in kind of like the mountainous state of like Tennessee. It involves a 27-year-old teacher, and she's just going through like life stages of like trying to find love, has a best friend, so she's kind of fed up with everything that's going on in her real life, and so she like tries to run away with her best friend. After like that gets rolling, everything kind of spirals out of control. She meets a really awesome guy that just kind of is like starting point of everything that she's ever known changing astronomically. She has a dark entity that's trying to kind of hijack her world. He hijacks her sleep. She has to figure out how to evolve as quickly as possible, and everything seems to be out of her control.
Is it even a fantasy book if your main character's life doesn't get completely upended in the process?
Yeah, exactly. I think it has to be like a criteria. It's like, oh,
Absolutely. You got to take away all their comforts, everything they thought they've known, all that. So
everything changes.
absolutely love that. The world building and lore of this world is so rich and thoroughly built. Do you have a favorite element?
So I kind of love all of the Celtic mythology that I like kind of interwoven into it. But I think my favorite part of it, and you're gonna get more of it in book 2 as she like figures out how to do the things that she needs to, like the elements of like songs and how magic is broadcasted through like her voice and the voices of the clan. And I just really like that element. I just like music in general, so I thought that would be a cool way of how to magic out there and how to broadcast it to the rest of people that need it to soak it up and get access to the goddess.
Yeah, that's so cool that you used Celtic mythology as an inspiration for absolutely wonderful world building, and I enjoyed it very much. Can you talk a bit about your inspirations for the book?
So I love to read all genres of romance. I think like what I like is mostly fantasy and like supernatural. So I wanted to like put that into my book because the normal world is kind of boring. I mean, yes, there are extenuating circumstances that can make it quite entertaining, but you have to kind of like follow the rule. And when you add like fantasy elements and supernatural and like magic, you get to create and make up your own rules. And that's kind of what I wanted to do. Originally, when I first started writing this, it was going to be contemporary. And then I set it aside because I couldn't think of anything to write. And I picked it up like probably like a year or so ago. And I was like, I'm going to change the whole thing. Replotted everything. And I made it an urban fantasy because I was like, this doesn't seem so much fun anymore. So I needed to change it and make it fun.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't think I would ever be able to write contemporary because the rules are already established in our world. And the joy of fantasy for me is being able to create my own world so I fully understand it and I can just play in a sandbox. Romance author myself, so I totally get that, and I love that you were able to turn it around. I'm so glad you did, that you have this book now. I think I love to ask everyone, you've been sitting with this world and these characters for so long, but new readers are about to enter it for the first time. What scene are you most excited for readers to experience for the first time?
That's so hard because it's like, which one?
Yeah.
And I'm so like in depth with book 2 that I have to like remember which part is what. My favorite part that I'm most interested to get reactions from is when I find out what all of the guys shift into. Because I purposely didn't want to have just regular shifters. I wanted to pull in mythical, supernatural, extinct creatures that wouldn't normally be on the face of this earth. There are subtle hints throughout first like 14 chapters of what they could potentially be, but I don't really give it away until they like pop up and they're like, oh, and I'm really interested to like see what they'll think about that.
Yeah, I love that you teased out that reveal, that you didn't make it super obvious for the reader in the beginning. And I love that all the guys shift into different things. They don't all shift into like the same thing. Love that way of differentiating them and really showing their personality. The main character, Kinley, has her life turned utterly upside down throughout the course of the book. How does she cope with this?
I don't really like touch on it a lot in the first book. She didn't have a happy childhood. Parents were really almost like borderline narcissistic and extremely like mentally abusive and judgmental of her. So she already knows how to cope things that are outside of her control. She's kind of self-adjusted as she's gotten older and been on her own. I just had to like pull that in, let her cope with it again. And I mean, she still has really good support system. She has her very best friend, and she now has the guys that are helping her, but she's kind of like trying to have to mentally process things in a way that she can. She compartmentalizes a lot, and as we go further in, especially in book 2, she's gonna have a lot more things that she's gonna have to deal with mentally and physically that she's not really prepared for.
The point of writing a character that we all love so much is that we get to see their limits, we get to see them tested and see what they're capable of and how they can eventually learn to flourish despite the trauma that they sustain throughout the course of the story. I also love a character that knows already how to cope like that more than a character who's like been sheltered all their life and has never had anything bad happen to them. Just like a character that's a little grittier and a little stronger from the beginning.
Yeah, and I think that's why I made her almost 30, because you have to have lived in order to have experienced how to cope with the daily life. So I wanted to make sure she was somewhat mature enough that she could handle things coming at her from all aspects of what she's going to have to experience. So I think that was one of the big things, is I wanted my FMC to be more mature. She's in her 20s, but I just wanted to make sure that it was realistic, that she could face things that I'm asking her to face mentally and physically.
Yeah, I totally get that. That makes a lot of sense. What would you say connects all 4 men despite their differences?
They grew up together. They're part of the same clan, and they all did go into the military. Aiden and Donovan are in the army, and then Brent and Camden, I never really specified what branch of the military they went in, but they did go into the military. So they all have that connecting factors, and then they all went into some sort of law enforcement, special forces after they got out of the military. So all of those things connect them. And then because they are clan, they ended up sticking together, and their friendships and basically their brotherhood sustained that. Which is why they're so close.
I love that they are so close and that they have really healthy friendships with each other and their masculinity.
Mm-hmm.
I love to see that. How does Kinley balance working her day job as a teacher and her new clan life?
So it eventually doesn't happen. And it is really hard for her to cope with that, which is half the reason why she takes a leave of absence for that brief moment. But she does go back because that is kind of her comfort zone. She became a teacher and she established her adulthood. She bought her house. She became an adult and a functioning member of society because of her profession. So that was kind of her comfort zone, and she needed to get back to it. Will eventually go away because it's going to get to the point where she can't focus on 2 things at once that are that enormous. I wanted to make it so that she has a real life job. She is a normal person, and then it really goes crazy. It is a difficult balance, especially as her magic grows. It becomes almost too dangerous for her to go back to her job because she doesn't really have control of what she is, and she's not even sure what's going on with herself. Even at the end of book 2, we still don't know what she shifts into. We still don't know her full capabilities. We don't even know like part of the hierarchy in the clan she is. It's all just kind of a mystery.
Classic lovable trope that a normal person would stumble into this fantasy and romance and magic and thinking for all of us, I think.
Yeah.
Sometimes in books with that kind of thing, their day job can be portrayed as boring or we don't see much of it. This book was absolutely not boring for Kinley's day job. I really enjoyed those sections, and the way that her day job and her new clan life was balanced was just really well done. So
yeah, it was kind of hard to make it realistic. Like obviously she can't face all of these things at once. There's gonna have to be a break between the 2. Felt like it needed to be readdressed and she needed to go back because that is her comfort zone. So I wanted to make sure that we went back.
I love that. Megan and the Familiars are the unsung heroes of much of the book, in my opinion. Can you talk a bit about them?
They're probably some of my favorite characters. Megan is actually like, I took pieces of 2 of my really good friends and I kind of like mashed them together to make her. And then of course the Familiars are actually 2 of my late pets that I put into my book when I first started writing them. And it just kind of like, a girl that's 27 needs to have pets to be like functioning. And I liked the idea that they were something other than just a regular cat and a regular dog. Wanted to make sure that there was a purpose of them being there besides just oh, here's a dog and here's a cat. It made more sense for them to have an active role in her protection because she was so unaware of what she actually was for such a long period of time. So I just wanted to like subtly slip them in. They'll have way more parts in book 2, but it's important to have a really strong friendship, and also you have to have fur babies, and it's really fun when those fur babies can actually kick some butt.
Yes, I totally agree. I love the twist that they were not just a normal cat and normal dog. It made them such a deeper part of the story because they are a very large part of the story, even when you think they are just like a pet. So
yeah,
I really love that they were incorporated in a deeper way.
I also thought it was going to be like just one more mental breakdown for her.
Yeah, absolutely taking everything she thinks is normal and just turning it around. Kinley dreams of a life she doesn't remember and the details of which are still foggy. At the end of the book, we still don't have a name for the villain who is pursuing her. Can you talk a bit about that, please?
So his backstory is actually going to be a big part of book 2, and it has to do with like past of her clan that she has no idea what it is. I don't want to give too much away because I don't want to spoil it, but the reason why she's so unaware of what she is and like why she does not have control or any inkling of why she's magical is because several generations before her, it kind of all went awry, and there was a big power struggle between her goddess and the dark god, or the horned god. And that power struggle is what created that unbalance. And we're going to see a lot of that in book 2.
You know, in a perfect trilogy, the lore gets deeper as you go along, and you find out that the main character is much more connected to like history or the lore than they first thought. That sounds like a wonderful slow reveal. The book ends on a cliffhanger. The events are far from resolved. And what can readers expect to find in the sequel? You kind of already talked about that, but
I can kind of hint some things. So like we go on, most of her story will actually get resolved in this second book. Book 3 is actually going to be more centered around Megan and kind of her magical journey. There could potentially be a second love interest in book 2. Of course, you're going to get more of her magic. She's going to meet the guy's clan and try and start to figure out what is going on with her and where she belongs. We'll finally meet her shifted form. It will get a lot darker and it will get a lot more traumatic, which is why a big part of why I title it a dark urban romantasy, even though it's not super dark, is because it will get very dark in book 2.
It's not a dark romance, but it is a dark fantasy world.
Yeah. It's hard to like say it's dark because the romance is not the dark part. It's everything that's around her that's the dark part. It's like dark themes, like in her surroundings, and like as a true stalker that's trying to get her and trying to hurt her, keep her for himself. But it's not the romance that's the dark part, which is kind of like the balance of like, should I label it as dark when it's not super dark? 2 gets pretty traumatic.
I agree. If you say like a dark romantasy, people will form a certain idea in their head.
Yeah.
People where they can find you online and where they can pre-order The Goddess Calls.
So the only thing that's open for pre-order right now is the ebook, and that's going to be on Amazon. When it releases on September 30th, then you'll be able to get the paperback. Just those 2 formats for right now. I think eventually I'll probably do a hardback with like some special artwork in it right now, but right now it's just the ebook and the paperback, which that really pretty cover that I absolutely adore.
Yeah, it's a wonderful cover. And do you have any social media where people can find you?
I do. So my website is LexiMacQueenAuthor.com, and also all my socials are there. So you can join my newsletter, find out when the book is coming out if you forget, and hopefully eventually I'll be able to offer signed copies, maybe some character art, and maybe some overlays. We haven't fully like gotten all the logistics about it, but hopefully I'll be able to offer some fun swag things with a signed copy.
That sounds wonderful. Yeah. So I will leave the links to your website and to pre-order The Goddess Calls in the description so people can find it easily. But yeah, thank you so much for being here, Lexi. This was a delight.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. And to everyone watching, again, go check out The Goddess Calls if you want a urban, quote-unquote dark romantasy with books to come. And if you just want to get locked into an amazing world, absolutely go check it out. So thank you for watching.